So some of the key considerations when we build omni-screen strategies is really starting with identifying the people challenge. We put a ton of rigor behind understanding people because our approach is rooted in um, the belief that people really define how and where they're consuming content and what content they want to consume it. So the more we understand the motivations and behaviors of people, the more strategic we can design our omni-channel media ecosystem. And what's interesting is with the ability and availability of data, we can prioritize actual behaviors over stated behaviors because if we've learned anything over the last 2 years, the world changes quickly. We can't rely on data latency. We have to understand real-time input. So when we design a connected ecosystem, we focus on delivering brand engagement, which could mean a variety of things based on the point people are at in their consumption journey.
So Dave, how does data fit into that strategy? I mean, because there's so many rich data points to work with, and where it was kind of buying a demo, and how does data fit into that in general terms?
Of course, data is a critical part of our holistic process, as it should be of anyone's process, from audience strategy all the way through to performance and ultimately campaign insights. But even more critical to understand what data points are the core drivers at every stage in planning and activation, because it's not one data set across the entire ecosystem. It's really a series of data points. But of course, just because you can view, leverage, and access hundreds of thousands of data points doesn't mean we should use them all. And I think oftentimes agencies and clients get data paralysis when they do have an understanding of their end goal, but they're inundated with the amount of data to leverage and really understand which points to use. So we leverage data to define representative data sets, and of course, any type of first party data that's available. Then we spend time to truly understand people, like I mentioned, and mine for insights that define a person's motivation and behaviors, but ultimately key signals to leverage across the consumer journey. When we look at video specifically, we're able to understand how to build focused scale in streaming and connected TV landscape, certainly leveraging ACR, which a partner like Samba is really great at, really allows us to have a core opportunity to accomplish this. Then we're able to even understand exposure of ads, managing frequency of campaigns, and certainly any type of competitive exposure. It allows us to make those real-time decisions and adjust our campaigns or pivot really based on activation goals, but ultimately how people are interacting and consuming content in the moment.
Dave, I want to ask you, at the agency, how you're helping brands shift from linear to digital OTT. And of course, again, it's not a template, and not all fit all. What one size doesn't fit all. But tell us some advice around shifting from linear. Is it about reach? Is it around what are some considerations?
There's a ton of considerations. It really depends on the client, the category, and their understanding of the ecosystem. But ultimately, it does come down to their customers, whether it's current customers or potential customers. Understanding, as I've mentioned a couple times, understanding people is really the starting point. And from there, we're able to build the right omni-channel strategy to get people, customers, or potential customers through to conversion. Things that are critical to understanding this would be the ability to drive messaging and frequency of messaging. So when we look at linear TV, it's always been more of a scale opportunity. Obviously, that has shifted over the last few years, really leaning into the ability to leverage CTV and OTT to not necessarily just drive scale, because I think that assumes that we are looking at linear and CTV similarly, when in fact they're actually partners, they're not complements, in my opinion. The opportunity with CTV is to get as precise as possible while building incremental scale, but doing it in a way that's really leaning into driving value for the end user or people, right? Because the more value you give people in that environment, in that video environment, the more likely you're going to earn their attention. And if without attention, you're not going to be able to get them into that conversion phase.